Is wild camping illegal in the UK? Well, we're going to answer that question in this video. Let's go. Hello, Russ here, bringing you the best tips and inspiration for hiking around the world. If all of that sounds right up your street, then do consider hitting that subscribe button below for more content just like this every single week. Okay, it is back to some basics with this video. I've learned a lot over the years about wild camping right here in the UK, especially in terms of England and Wales. So with this video, I thought I'd give you my top tips on how to wild camp in the UK legally. My first tip is to go out and get an OS Explorer map. They show all of the contour lines, water sources, public trails and footpaths and many other features. But we're going to be looking in particular at the differences between open access land and private land. If we open up the map, the private land is the white areas on the map. So anything in the white areas is a basic no-go. So when you're on the trails, if there's public footpaths, you have to stick to the footpath. You do not have right to roam, and you certainly cannot wild camp in those areas. Private woodland is also marked out on the map with a dark green kind of colour, and you can see that there are different colours there that are signifying some conifer trees, which is really cool. It's very detailed on these OS maps. So yeah, white on the map is private land and dark green is private woodland. If we have a look around this map, you can see open access land is marked in the kind of light orange colour, and it is bordered with a darker orange line, so you can't miss it. All of the land that is in that light orange colour is all open access land. Open access land basically means that, say you're on one of these footpaths, you then have the right to roam around anywhere that you wish, so you could go and have a look at all of these different mountains and features that are on the map there, no problem. Open access woodland is defined with a lime green colour, so it's a little bit harder to distinguish the two, but basically like the darkish, less saturated green is private and the brighter lime green is open access woodland. Also, don't forget to check in the areas that you're planning to camp if they are in a firing range or not, because there's a lot of military ordnance and areas where the military are active, so be sure to definitely check out whether or not they are in the areas that you're planning to camp. On private land, you absolutely must stick to the footpath at all times. You absolutely cannot camp on that private land under most circumstances unless you have prior permission from the landowner. With open access land, you are allowed to exercise your right to roam the land. However, if you want to camp on open access land, you still have to find the contact details of who owns it, get in touch with them and request permission. With most open access land, it is owned by the National Trust or the Forestry Commission, so you can go ahead and contact those. It makes it a little bit easier, but there is some good news for us wild campers. In some of the national parks here in England and Wales, it is tolerated by some bylaws which allow you to wild camp on the open access land, as long as it's above the highest fell wall, you're far away from any houses and you're not invading anyone's privacy. You must be very respectful of the land and follow all the leave no trace principles. I have got a video up here in this corner regarding all of the leave no trace principles and some tips on leave no trace, so do go check that out if that link is up there. The Lake District National Park up in the north of England is probably the only national park that I know of that tolerates wild camping apart from Dartmoor. If we go onto the National Trust website and go on their wild camping in the Lake District page, I will put a link in the description below. It basically goes on to say that if you plan to wild camp, then just head to the higher fells and follow the simple guidelines that are actually on this page. So do go check that out. It's really important that you have a read. But it's basically the only national park, or it's the only part of the National Trust where they actually promote wild camping. The main points are basically travel light, stay out of sight and stay for only one night and tread lightly. Use a stove box instead of ground fires. So yeah, absolutely no, don't have any campfires. It's just going to make a mess and it's not very good for the environment, and you're going to disturb other hikers. But there are also plenty of designated developed campsites that you pay for in the Lake District, if all of this sounds like a bit of a faff to you. In the other national parks across England and Wales, wild camping under these circumstances can also be tolerated in certain areas. I have done wild camping in Snowdonia for many times and I've never had an issue. Just make sure you do your research, have a look at some of the national parks websites, and you might be able to find some sections of those websites where it either promotes wild camping just like the National Trust does for the Lake District, or you might be able to find some posts online where it tells you where it is tolerated. Dartmoor National Park is a completely different story. There are many areas in Dartmoor where it is completely legal to camp. All you have to do is go onto their website. Again, I will leave a link in the description below to this exact page, and it just brings up a map where all of the areas where it's legal to wild camp are basically coloured in purple. So any of those areas, it is completely okay to wild camp. Before you trip, what I would do is just get a map of the area that you're going to be roaming in Dartmoor, and then on the map just draw a line around the places where you're allowed to wild camp, do your research, and then pick a place to pitch before you start your trip. There are a few rules when camping on Dartmoor, and that is that you're allowed to camp for 1 or 2 nights max. You can't sleep in your car, only solo campers or small groups of maybe 2 or 3, and you must be 100 meters from any road or housing. You must bury waste at least 100 feet from camp or the trails, and you must pack out all of your toilet roll and rubbish. So it's all common sense. Just follow these principles and you'll be absolutely fine on Dartmoor. So that's it with England and Wales. Let's move on to Scotland. Scotland is a completely different story, and it brings some really good news. Because of the Land Reform Act in 2003, you are allowed to wild camp and roam the land in Scotland pretty much wherever you wish, so long as it's not on someone's garden, like obvious, and so long as you're not invading anyone's privacy, you're not damaging any crops, you're not disturbing any livestock. Pretty much 95% of the land in Scotland you are free to roam and you're free to wild camp. I've got a video which should be up here in this link, and I'll put a link below in the description when it's done, that basically goes into all of the detail about how to wild camp properly in Scotland. There are a few things that you need to note, and there are a few places where you do need permits, so do go check that video out as well. Okay folks, let's just do a very quick recap. Any white space on the map, it's a definite no-go. If you're in a national park and you are in the higher fells, some of the national parks it is tolerated. So just check on the map before you go, look at the available campsites, whether you are in open access land or not, which is the orange coloured spaces on the map with the thick orange outline. Those are the best places to try and wild camp. So yes, is wild camping in the UK illegal? Most of the time it is. There aren't many places that you actually can wild camp legally, but all of this will help you in the future, and especially when you're properly planning all of your trips, you will be able to find places where it's tolerated or where it is completely legal. Where do you like to wild camp here in the UK? Let us know down below in the comments section. The trail hunter community would love to hear from you. Okay, thanks for watching this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it, and I'll see you in the next one.